Hello, hello. It's your boy Ross, Bitcoin, talking about the Dow Jones over 1,000 points within 2 days. 2018 earnings are done. Got my sweater here, the Crypto Lifestyle Club. So yeah, in situations like this, we don't know how down Bitcoin could go. Okay, so and I'm not a financial advisor. These are just my theories, right? I'm just talking, right? And what we do know is that the stock market is down. The Dow Jones is down. It's getting hit hard. You got the FANG stocks over $1 trillion already within Apple, Facebook, Google, Netflix. So those stocks are about $1 trillion in losses. We still have a housing crisis. We still have debt, student loan debt, and everything is leading up to where we're at right now. Experts are saying that the crash could happen any minute now. We're already seeing what's happening in Dow Jones. Okay, Bitcoin is under 5 grand. All right, and what I'm doing is, and like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but what I'm doing is I'm holding on to the cash. Okay, because what we're going to see is we're going to see stocks go down, everything's going to go down, and for one window of opportunity, you're going to see your cash reign king. Okay, so the cash is going to be used for buying food, which will go into hyperinflation eventually, depending on how bad this crash will be. The cash could be used to buy stocks, pennies on the dollar, just like when Countrywide went belly up, Bank of America picked them up on pennies on the dollar, bought all their mortgages, which were bad loans anyway, and then they didn't even want to give principal reduction on people's homes to stabilize the economy, which they haven't even done that from the get-go. You're going to see Bitcoin maybe go to 3 grand or 2 grand. Maybe it might bounce back to 7 or 8 grand and then go to the moon. Until then, what I'm going to do is, and someone had mentioned XRP, okay, and you know what, XRP is right now is in second place, but guess what? Here's the issue with XRP, and I'm not going to talk about anything what I have or anything like that. I'm not going to go to details on this because it could all go to zero, and I'm not a financial advisor. But what I could tell you is that XRP is charging a lot of money to take out those coins. And if you listen to Trace Mayer, last night he was talking to one of his buddies, and I was listening to what he was saying, Trace Mayer. And the hodlers are the ones that are going to hold to the end, okay? Those are the ones that are going to go through that dark tunnel before we get to the light. Will the altcoins survive? Well, there might be some that will survive. And that's why it's good not to put all your eggs in one basket. And that's why I talk about multiple sources of income, that you cannot invest what you can't afford to lose. You have to invest what you can afford to lose. And if you're way in over your head, you need to get out because you're not going to think right. So that's why it's very important that you hold through the crisis. And we're already experiencing the crisis. We're already going through that dark tunnel before we get to the light. And what's going to happen? You're going to have people with master's degrees looking for jobs. You're going to have people losing their homes. You're going to have people trying to find a job, working for less than minimum wage, okay? And then you're going to see the governments go bankrupt, or you might see bank runs where the bank is saying, hey, we're closed. We'll be open on Tuesday or Wednesday. You're going to see the cost of coffee, milk, cigarettes, all that stuff is going to go up. Hyperinflation is going to kick in. And we're going to have what World War II Germany had when their dollar, or their German franc or whatever, went into mark or whatever. They went into hyperinflation, and they were just printing out money. And, you know, you have a Zimbabwe situation, then Bitcoin will go to the moon. But the question is, do you have strong hands? Okay, do you have strong hands? And I'm not talking about strong hands of coins. I'm talking about, can you hold? How long can you hold before you sell? And, you know, that's the question here. Because like I said, my thing is that cash is very important. Cash is going to be very, very important. And even other people are talking about it on their channel, where they say Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, okay, Gary V talked about it as well. He says, when the market crashes, I'm gonna have the money to go buy real estate or go buy companies like Ford, pennies on the dollar, and that's where you're gonna make your money. And you know, if you're trying to make a quick buck, you got to get out of this field, okay? Because right now everyone's in the red, and Bitcoin is extremely volatile. It's going down, and then it's going up, and then it's going down, and you might not be able to keep up with that roller coaster ride. It might be way in over your head, okay? So you want to diversify. You want to invest what you can afford to lose, okay? And you know, that's what the situation we're in. But my theory is hold on to the cash and have cash on hand. Like literally no money in the bank, okay? The bank closes, that's fine because I have all my money in my hand. And then you buy your Bitcoin from your neighbor, from your internet friend, and then you're saying, hey, you know, I have, you know, $2,000-$3,000. Give me 2 Bitcoins. And then you're like, hey, Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. And then you buy your Bitcoins at $3,000. You know, you put 6,000, you got 2 Bitcoins. And hey, it could go to $2,000. But, you know, you buy yourself 3 Bitcoins now. And then all of a sudden, Bitcoin goes to $100,000. You hold on to your Bitcoins and see what happens by 2030. Like the other guy that did the prediction that Bitcoin is going to be worth $100 million by 2030. You know, the year 2030. Right now, we're going to the year 2019. Now, this crash is called the everything crash. It's called the mother of all bubbles. You got a student loan debt bubble, mortgage debt bubble. You have a credit bubble. You have a freaking Federal Reserve printing money out the yin yang bubble. So you got all these bubbles. And when they pop, it's going to be a recipe for disaster. And if you think that 1929, the crash of back then was a big, you know, a big bomb, it's going to make this one's going to be the big bomb. That one's going to be like a little firecracker pop, you know, it's going to be like pop. And this other thing's going to be like boom, boom. And everyone's going to get wiped out. The people that have millions of dollars in these stocks, these companies, 401ks, pension, hedge funds, all these crazy stuff, they're the ones that are going to lose their money in this crash. The average people like me and you, and there might be people listening in that have millions of dollars. So, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. These are my theories. But I think that those people are going to get wiped out. And those are the ones that are going to throw themselves off their mansions or off their skyscrapers like in 1929, because literally overnight, they're going to lose all their inheritance, all their grandma's money and great-grandfather's money and that Coca-Cola money, that Rockefeller money, that Rothschild money. They're going to lose that money, all right? And the guys that are educated, and that's what this channel's for, like me and you, we're the guys that are going to hold and have cash on hand and start buying up this Bitcoin, all right? And it's funny because people are all excited buying in at $6,000, $7,000, you know, $5,000. But just hold on, you know, I like that theory where you do your cost average. You know, you buy in 500, you wait 2-3 months, 500, you know, you have a little bit of cash. But, you know, the thing is that in theory, what people say is like, well, real estate's always performed, you know, and if you have real estate, you have rental income. And that's great, right? But what happens when this crash happens and that real estate, you're trying to get rid of it and you can't because it's upside down, meaning that someone bought that same property that you're living in for $50,000 and you owe $150,000. So you have to renegotiate with the lender of the loan. So that's another thing to be mindful of, is that, you know, there will be a lot of people that are going to have to renegotiate their loans because they're getting cheated, not directly by the bank, but because of the system. because the system is based on fiat, which the Federal Reserve is just printing out money, and it gives no value to what we're doing. That's why they need to put us on a gold standard, or maybe Bitcoin could be the standard, so we'll see what happens after the tunnel. The whole thing is, and my theory is, hold on to cash. So literally, I'm going to the bank right now to take out my cash, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see what happens in this month, next month. You're talking about Thanksgiving, Black Friday sales. I'm not going to buy a TV. Okay, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to splurge. I'm not going to buy anything crazy. I'm going to live under my means. And I mean, instead of buying coffee, I'll make coffee at home. Instead of going to buy that 80, to Applebee's, or to go to a nice restaurant or something like that, I'm just gonna make a steak dinner at home, make mashed potatoes at home, okay, and just try to go through this tunnel. Because, like I said, if you think Bitcoin and these little alternative coins are ugly, then you haven't seen anything yet. It's gonna get worse. Because if the Dow Jones drops and it keeps dropping, either A, Bitcoin keeps going up, or B, Bitcoin drops with the stock market. But at the end of the day, because of the Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, and what Trace Mayer is saying, and people like Max Kaiser, what they're talking about, the Winklevoss twins, we can't lose our eyes on what we're looking at. And what we're looking at is that Bitcoin was the first one. Okay. And I'm not an expert on it, but when I hear these guys, like, I start to understand that it has a future, and that you can't get rid of it. And yes, there is other coins, but going back again, XRP, the banker's coin, and can it go to $350 a coin? It could, right? But that's why I say it's good to diversify. But for me, I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to hold on to cash, and maybe XRP could go to 20 cents, right? Maybe Bitcoin could go to $3,000, $4,000. Maybe not. Maybe it'll go back up to 5, then 6, then 10. Then the stock market crashes. Then it goes to 20. Then it goes to 100. Then it goes to 500. And then, just like John McAfee said, it goes to 1 million by 2020. And the people from the bank, what is it called? The central banking system. I forgot the lady that runs the IMF, okay, out there in Europe. She says maybe it's time, and I think she was in Australia at the blockchain conference. She said, I think maybe it's time that we start looking at a digital currency option. We should look at a digital currency option at this point, because the people, the millennials, the people like us, the new generation, we want something fast. We want something that is not corruptible, just like the president when he got elected. We want blockchain technology. We want that speed, right? We want to be able to go to the gas station, put our phone on the thing, put your gas, get out of Dodge, right? And those are the type of things we're going to see. But which coins are the ones going to have the best use cases? That's the key. And that's why it's important to do your research, and to listen to channels like this, and listen to other channels, and do your research. But like I said, for me, my whole thing is cash, 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 cash. Because when the crash comes, you're going to be able to buy your loaf of bread. And at that point, people are going to sell their Bitcoin to go into fiat to buy food, right? But a lot of people, they might have cash. They won't have to sell their Bitcoin. They'll have cash to buy more Bitcoin and buy food and sustain themselves through that dark tunnel until we get to that light. So, the Dow Jones is falling. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And like I said, I've been talking about this for a minute now. And I've been saying, hey, these digital currencies, they just came up out of nowhere, right? And they're not going anywhere, guys. They're not going to disappear. When people sell, it's somebody else's buying opportunity. People are buying Bitcoin right now, okay? People are literally buying Bitcoin. So I just lately, these last couple of weeks, I just fell in love with Bitcoin. Like, I just love Bitcoin. And then just listening to Trace Mayer last night confirms everything that is happening right now. And like I said, these alternative coins are going to get smashed. Most of them are going to get smashed, but some of them will survive, and you're going to see thousand gains, thousand returns on your money, and that's what we're looking at. So Bitcoin has a future. The Lightning Network has a future, and I'm just all over it because it's only been 10 years, guys, and it's been 10 years since the last crash. And when this crash happens again, you're going to see people losing their homes in foreclosure. You're going to see companies, it already started happening, Kmart, Lowe's, Sears going bankrupt. Lowe's is not bankrupt, right? But they are closing some stores down. You're going to see colleges close. You're going to see government starting to do this taxation on people, property taxes going up and all this crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, and that's why I look at the gas price. If you see the gas price right now, it's really low. But how low can it go to sustain the economy? Because people like driving. But you're going to see Bitcoin prevail. If it gets an ETF, any little thing could spark this thing to go to 10, 15 grand where it used to be. So, your loss is someone else's gain. Look at it like that. And what are you buying the Bitcoin with? You're buying it with fiat currency, with cash. And when the economy drops, people are going to go into cash. And then that cash is going to be worth 10 times more your purchasing power, for the simple fact that, and it won't last long. It might be a month or two where you could have, let's just say you have 10 grand, $10,000. You're able to buy maybe a condo, a 1-bedroom condo, if you can, right? Or let's say you have $30,000 cash. You could buy yourself maybe a good 7 Bitcoin, 8 Bitcoin or something like that. And a lot of people say, look, the downside is important because you're buying it in at a cheap price and you're buying a bunch. Each Satoshi in the future could be $1, right? And it's 100 million Satoshis make up 1 Bitcoin because it's divisible by 8. So it's 100 million Satoshis is 1 Bitcoin, 1.8 zeros, okay? And in the future, that 1 Satoshi could be $1. Because the dollar might not exist. So you see Bitcoin Cash, you see these other coins, and what do? You use your fiat currency to go into Bitcoin through Coinbase or these other apps. You go into Bitcoin, and then you sell your Bitcoin, your Satoshis, for these other coins. And it happened to me, trust me. I've lost money. And all of a sudden, Bitcoin goes up, and that coin goes down. And now you don't have a Bitcoin. Now you got 0.10 Bitcoin or 0.5 Bitcoin. And that's why it's important to understand that Bitcoin Satoshis, these Satoshis, for me, that's the key, is Bitcoin. Okay? I care about the overall coins, right? But Bitcoin is like, bam, right? And I love what the video my friend Crypto Fred made. He talked about this guy from, I think he was the 70s. So we go into that, and I'm just looking at that blockchain technology stuff, but it has its use case. But Bitcoin hasn't been hacked, and it could be an elite entity behind Bitcoin. We don't know. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but what we do know is that there's over $8 billion a day. I could be wrong about the number, but it's got to be like 8 billion a day in volume, and it's over like 150 billion or 110 billion that is in there, is in the Bitcoin. So as the Dow Jones goes under, people are their eyes are gonna be on something, right? But they might have the cash. They might have cash, and they're like, okay, well, where could we throw in our money to give us the best rate of return? Now, Ron Paul tweeted on Twitter He said, if you had $1 million or something like that, and you have 10 years to invest your money, you got 10 years, where would you put it? US bonds, Bitcoin, and gold and silver or something like that. 50% of people said Bitcoin. So that means that everyone wants to put their money in Bitcoin. And everyone else put like 5% would put it in gold, 3% would put it in silver, 10% would put it in US bonds or something like that. But at the end of the day, the majority of people says that they're going to put their money in Bitcoin. You got people